Welcome to the fire. Welcome to the place they said you'd never walk through without burning alive. Welcome to the war zone that was never meant for you to survive in. Welcome to the edge where they all swore you'd fall, where they placed bets on your failure, laughed at your attempts, sneered at your dreams, and nodded smugly as they whispered to each other, "They'll never make it." But look around, look closely. You're still here, not broken, not crawling, not begging. You're standing, you're rising, you're smiling. This isn't just a speech. This is a reckoning, a sermon for the ones who were pushed to the dirt and grew roots there, a scream in the dark from those who were silenced too long, a war cry for those who've been told no so many times it started sounding like a dare. They said you wouldn't do it. They said you couldn't. They said you'd fail, that you'd fold, that you'd break. And yet here you are, not only standing in the space they denied you, but owning it, running it, smiling while doing it. You didn't just play the game, you became the game. You didn't just take the throne, you built the empire around it. They underestimated you because you weren't loud, you weren't flashy, you weren't built the way they expected power to look. You were silent, dangerous, sharp. You moved in shadows and came alive in chaos. You took every doubt, every betrayal, every door slammed in your face, and you melted it down into fuel. You built your kingdom from rejection. You paved your path with the bones of your failures. You became the monster they thought they could tame. You became the storm they thought would pass. See, there's something terrifying about someone who refuses to break. There's something unbearable to the weak about someone who learns to smile through pain, who learns to walk with scars exposed and still call it power, who doesn't flinch when things get hard but leans into the chaos like they were born for it. You became that someone. They wanted you broken. They wanted you obedient. But you became feral. You became unstoppable. You became your own damn legend. Remember the silence when you spoke your dreams out loud and they gave you that look? That, "Oh honey, that's not for you" look. The smirks, the condescending head tilts, the passive-aggressive, "Good luck with that," the polite, "We'll see." That always meant, "We hope you fail, so we feel better about our own comfort zone." You remember it. Every word, every eye roll, every time they used your ambition as a punchline. What they didn't know is every single one of those dismissals was an ember in your gut. Every insult was iron in your blood. You don't forget those. You don't need revenge. You are revenge. You made the move they said you couldn't make. You did it smiling. Not because it was easy, not because you had it all figured out, but because smiling in the face of resistance is the highest act of rebellion. They can handle loud, they can handle tantrums. What they can't handle is a quiet storm. Someone who wins without announcing every step. Someone who takes hit after hit and keeps building. Someone who shows up to the finish line in silence, drenched in sweat and grit, and just nods. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be remembered. And let's be real. They didn't just doubt you. They wanted you to fail. They needed you to. Because your success was a mirror to their fear. Your wins exposed their comfort. Every time you broke a ceiling, you forced them to look at the one they'd built around themselves. Every time you moved, they felt their own stagnation. You weren't just a threat. You were the proof that the limits were fake all along. That the excuses were just fear dressed up as logic. That anyone with the fire can make it. That burns them more than any insult you could have thrown back. So you didn't throw words. You threw results. You became undeniable. You made your name taste like steel in their mouths. You rose like a question they didn't want to answer. You became a blueprint they couldn't copy. Because this isn't about talent. This is about obsession, grit, tenacity. the quiet madness that lives behind the eyes of someone who refuses to die with dreams still in their head. You became that madness. You let it drive you through the nights no one clapped, through the mornings that came with no motivation, through the failure, the losses, the heartbreak, the disappointment. You kept going, kept creating, kept evolving, and that's what made you dangerous. Now you sit at the top, not on a throne of gold, but one of ashes. Ashes of everything they burned trying to stop you. Ashes of their doubt, of your own past, of the weakness you had to kill inside yourself to get here. You're not polished. You're forged. You're not here to inspire. You're here to remind. Remind them that survival is a skill, that rising is an act of defiance. That power doesn't have to ask permission to exist. You became the CEO of Try Me Again, and no one survives that boardroom if they come unprepared, because now it's personal. Every step forward is a lesson. Every win is a warning. Every time you smile, it's a message that says, this didn't break me either, and it scares them. Oh, it terrifies them, because you didn't just break their rules, you rewrote the whole damn playbook. You turned your pain into policy. You weaponized your story. You turned no into a strategy, and impossible into your favorite challenge. They can't stop you because you've already been through what they fear, and survived, and came back laughing. This isn't for the weak. This isn't for the ones who only fight when it's convenient. This is for the ones who know how to lose and still show up like they've already won. For the ones who've sat with failure so long, they call it family. For the ones who know that the road to power is ugly and lonely and unglamorous, but take it anyway. For the ones who never needed a crowd to clap, you clap for yourself. You keep your own score. You move in silence and strike in storms. They thought you needed help, that you needed permission, that you needed them. You didn't. All you needed was one opening, one shot, one crack in the wall. And when it came, you didn't hesitate. You didn't stutter. You moved. They said you couldn't. You did it anyway. And you did it smiling. That's the part they'll never understand. The smile. Because it wasn't just joy. It was war paint. It was the grin of someone who knew they were counted out and came back a king. It was the smirk of someone who eats pressure for breakfast and failure for dessert. You wore it like armor. You made the move. You proved them wrong without saying a word. And now, even your silence is a sermon. Every step you take is a statement. You're not just in the room. They built the room trying to keep you out, and now you run it. Now you walk the halls like a ghost of their regrets. You are everything they were afraid you'd become, and more. You became the version of yourself they hoped never existed. You're not just a success story. You're a warning label. You're a fire hazard. You're living proof that ambition doesn't die just because it's buried. That hunger grows in darkness. That the quiet ones don't stay quiet forever. And when they rise, it's violent. It's glorious. It's absolute. So stand tall. Let them look. Let them wonder how you did it. Let them search for the secret that never existed. Because there was no secret. It was pain. It was nights you didn't sleep. It was choices no one saw. Sacrifices no one will ever understand. It was loyalty to a vision that hadn't even formed yet. It was waking up every day with no applause, no recognition, no roadmap, and still moving, still building, still fighting, still smiling. This isn't just a win, it's an uprising. It's a revolution with your name on it. You don't owe them explanations. You don't owe them humility. You don't owe them peace. You made the move, and you made it loud in your silence. And now, the world hears it. Let them choke on their words. Let them taste the bitterness of doubt, because now you own the very space they said wasn't yours to have. You claimed it without begging. You conquered it without compromise. You didn't climb a ladder. They tried to bury you and you grew roots instead. And from the dirt, you rose like a monument to pain, persistence, and pure, unfiltered defiance. Remember that title. Say it to yourself until your blood hums with it. You're the CEO of Try Me Again. That's not just a slogan. That's your DNA now. That's your legacy. That's your shield. And the next time someone says you can't, you'll just smile again. Because the last time you heard that, you made the move anyway, and did it smiling. And now that you've arrived, the air is different, isn't it? You can feel it. It's colder, quieter. That's because not many breathe up here. Not many endure the altitude. Success gets lonely when you're the one who climbed without a rope, with blood on your hands and nothing but instinct keeping you from slipping. This isn't the mountaintop they paint in books. There's no sunrise here, just the wind and your echo. But you don't need the sun anymore. You are the heat now. You are the light. Let them talk. Let them whisper. You hear it. They can't help themselves. They'll rewrite the story. Pretend they always believed in you. Pretend they were rooting for you. They'll swear they saw it coming, that they knew you had it in you. Smile. Let them, because you know the truth. You remember when they turned their backs, when they laughed at the idea of you making a dent in the world, when they thought you were too soft, too different, too not them to matter. They only believe in you now because they have no choice. They watched the door slam shut behind you, watched you stand in the place they said you'd never enter, and it burns them, not because you're there, but because you walked in like it was always you, like you were just reclaiming something stolen. You didn't ask. You didn't wait. You didn't seek approval. You took it. And that's what scares them the most. Because you've become untouchable. You see, you didn't come this far just to be here. You didn't fight through hell just to exist politely. You're not here for participation trophies. You're here to dominate, to disrupt, to take everything they swore wasn't meant for people like you and make it yours with no apology. You're not trying to prove them wrong anymore. That part's done. That part is buried in the trail behind you. You're proving yourself right now. And that is a different kind of fire. That's the kind that doesn't burn out. That's the kind that becomes a lifestyle. You made the move, and it changed everything. The old version of you, gone, dead, ash. You didn't level up. You transformed. You don't just walk different now. You move like a weapon. You enter rooms like a storm warning. You speak, and people shut up and listen, because they can feel it now. The weight, the intensity, the presence that wasn't there before. You carry your survival like a crown, and you never once dropped it. The ones who doubted you, who laughed, who bet against you, they're watching now, watching quietly, uncomfortably, trying to figure out how you did it, how someone like you got so far without playing their game. But that's the thing, isn't it? You weren't playing, you were building. While they were performing, you were grinding. While they were watching, you were working. While they were throwing shade, you were planting seeds. And now you're in bloom. A terrifying, unstoppable, unapologetic bloom. There's no going back. You couldn't go back if you wanted to. That old life, that old you, that person who needed permission, who needed claps, who second-guessed every step, they're gone. You buried them with your first win. And every win since has been a funeral for another fear, another doubt, another voice in your head that said you weren't good enough. Now you hear a different voice, stronger, colder, sharper. It says, "Try me again." That voice doesn't beg, it commands. That voice doesn't ask for peace. It makes war look like poetry. It speaks in results. It speaks in comebacks. It speaks in silence when others scream. And it's yours now. Part of you, branded into your blood like a prophecy fulfilled. You didn't come this far for praise. You came because the fire inside you was bigger than the fear around you. You came because your soul had claws, and you were tired of pretending to be soft for people who didn't deserve your silence. You came because you were ready to bleed for what mattered, to sacrifice for something greater, to lose the old you in the pursuit of something raw, real, and relentless. And now you're here, looking at the same ones who told you to stay small, who told you to wait your turn, who told you that survival was enough. They told you to be grateful, to not rock the boat, to stay where it was safe. But you weren't born for safety. You weren't built for quiet lives and easy victories. You were born for more, and you took it. Every scar on your body is a signature now. Every wound is proof of life, of fight, of a war you didn't just survive, you won. You're not just powerful now, you're mythical. They talk about you behind closed doors, unsure of how to handle you, afraid to admit they never saw it coming. You're not just a name anymore. You're a presence, a movement, a problem. And the best part? You're just getting started. Because the move you made, that was only the beginning. That was the opening line to a story that's going to leave marks on every space you enter. That was the first domino in a chain reaction of evolution, explosion, and elevation. You've only scratched the surface of your capability. And now, with everything you've seen, everything you've felt, everything you've overcome, you're untethered. The chains are gone. The rules are broken. The mask is off. Now the world meets the version of you they were never supposed to see. The one who knows who they are. The one who doesn't blink when things get hard. The one who isn't afraid to be the villain in someone else's story if it means being the hero in your own. This is your era, not the pretty one, not the Instagram filtered one. This is the era of blood and grit and legacy, of earning respect through results, of taking hits and laughing through the pain, of building an empire brick by brick, using rejection as mortar. And no one can take that from you. No one can fake this. No one can replicate what it costs to become this version of yourself. So take up space. Be loud if you want. Be quiet if you must. But be undeniable. Be a force. Be the reason someone else thinks twice before underestimating the quiet one, the underestimated one, the one they tried to play. Because next time they look at you, they won't see a person. They'll see a warning sign, and they'll remember you made the move they said you couldn't make, and did it smiling. And you're still smiling, because you're not finished. You're the CEO of Try Me Again, and they better pray you don't. You thought this was the end? You thought crossing that finish line meant the work was done? No, that was the beginning of your second life. The first one, that was survival. This one, this is conquest. You're not here to compete anymore. You're here to own. You're not proving you belong. You're showing them how foolish they were to ever question it. And that look in your eyes now, that's not hunger. That's certainty. That's the look of someone who's been through enough pain to understand the cost of greatness and chose to pay it anyway. You've stared down demons, danced with doubt, and walked through hell without flinching. You've been underestimated so many times you stopped correcting people and just started collecting victories. Now, you don't speak. Your presence answers all the questions. They don't ask how you did it. They ask how they missed it. How they missed the quiet power that was building in you. How they missed the storm brewing behind your patience. They didn't see the hours, the solitude, the sacrifice, the grind when no one was clapping, when no one was watching. They didn't see the nights you cried but didn't quit, the mornings you wanted to disappear but got up anyway. They saw none of that. And now they want to know your secret? There is no secret, just suffering, just decision, just the refusal to die with potential still in your bones. You made the move, you took the shot, you ignored the noise, and now you walk with gravity. You walk with weight. Your footsteps are echoes of every doubt you buried, every "you're not ready" you turned into firewood and set ablaze. You don't need validation. You are validation now. You are the blueprint for destruction and rebirth, for becoming what no one imagined, not even you, in your darkest moments. Because you had those. We all do. The nights when the doubt nearly swallowed you, when your heart broke under the weight of staying quiet in rooms you knew you should have owned, when you looked at your reflection and didn't recognize the tired warrior staring back. But you didn't stop there. You didn't fold. You refused. That's what makes you terrifying now. That refusal. Refusal to break. Refusal to settle. Refusal to hand your power to people who never deserved it. And now, you're not chasing anything. Not praise, not love, not recognition. Because the real ones don't chase. The real ones attract. Not with charm, but with consistency. Not with noise, but with results. And you've got results written in your skin. Worn like war paint. A badge of every time you said, "I'll keep going," when no one believed in you, not even you. But now, belief isn't required, because reality has caught up. You are the move they said you couldn't make. You are the force they swore couldn't exist in someone like you. You are that the storm they never prepared for. And you did it smiling, not because it was painless, but because pain became your fuel. Because pain became familiar. Because you trained in fire so long that peace started to bore you. And what now? What happens when the underdog stops playing nice? When the underestimated stops pretending to be humble? What happens when the outsider becomes the architect? When the shadow becomes the spotlight? You happen. You start to build in ways that scare people. You begin to operate at a level that leaves them speechless. You move with such clarity, they think you're cold. But you're not cold. You're focused. You're done explaining. You're done shrinking. You're done pretending to be softer than you are just to keep others comfortable. Comfort didn't raise you. Discomfort did. Struggle did. Failure did. And that's why no one can match you now, because most people are terrified of failing once. You failed 1,000 times, and every single one sharpened you, broke you, rebuilt you, until what emerged was no longer a person trying to survive. What emerged was a weapon, a force, a presence. And it's real. It's not a brand. It's not a caption. It's your reality now. They don't know how to deal with you because you're not playing the same game anymore. You've stopped looking sideways. You've stopped measuring your value based on someone else's finish line. You only answer to the mirror now. And that reflection, it bows to no one. You walk into rooms now and they feel it before you speak. That quiet energy, that simmering tension, that "don't test me" frequency humming off your skin. You don't need to explain anymore because you are the explanation. You don't flex, you exist. And that's enough to shift the whole temperature in a room. You became the version of yourself that used to scare you, that used to feel too much, that used to feel like a dream. You became it, you live it, and there's no going back. Not now.